We are listing as a terrorist entity the World Tamil Movement. That organization will have assets frozen.
Minister of Public Safety Stockwell Day announced yesterday that the non-profit World Tamil Movement has been blacklisted in Canada. The government made the move because it believes that the group was raising money for the Tamil Tigers, who regularly carry out terrorist attacks in Sri Lanka. Well, will this approach limit terrorist activities? Joining me now, John Thompson, president of the Mackenzie Institute. It's a think tank that specializes in research of organized violence. Does this have an effect?
It'll have an enormous effect in two different spheres. One is the World Tamil Movement. Well, it's a world movement. It's present in a lot of countries, but it does raise a lot of money, especially here in Canada, for the Tamil Tigers. One conservative estimate was $1 million a month.
Significant amount of money.
Yeah, very significant. The other thing is that it's always been the mechanism for control by Tiger sympathizers over the whole Tamil community.
Right.
And
but basically people going to people's doors, Sri Lankan communities of the Sri Lankan community in Canada, and saying, you know, pay up.
No, well, just the Tamil community, they leave the Sinhalese alone. But yeah, there's the war tax system, which is coercive fundraising, you know, pay up or else. And it's been very clear that in cases of people who don't pay up, that relatives back in Sri Lanka can be menaced.
Right.
That's happened many times. But also just the utter control of all aspects of cultural life, immigrant settlement services, cultural events, Tamil language newspapers and radio stations. And that's been one of the reasons why Tamils have been afraid to criticize the group, because if they do, then they're cut off. They're pariahs in their own community.
What changed? I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about this organization for some time.
Well, yeah, there's a 25-year history of them, especially in Europe, and they've been tied with all sorts of things. But in Canada, one of the other aspects of the WTM was to move politicians, and they were really good at it.
Yeah.
And so they made a lot of inroads, especially with the federal Liberals. The federal Conservatives knew enough to stay clear. So in 2006, one of the first things that Prime Minister Harper did was he banned the Tigers. But he wanted to make sure that the Solicitor General's Department had an iron-tight case against the front groups.
So that's what they waited on. They waited for that iron-tight. Tell me where they compare to other similar organizations. I mean, who would you compare them to?
Well, one of the reasons why I started studying the Tamil Tigers and the WTM in the first place was that I'd never seen a front organization for a terrorist group that was as sophisticated and as well organized. You know, there's always been sort of a relationship between a terrorist group and the front organization that handles their political side.
Yeah.
But never like this, never this sophisticated or this entrenched.
Very interesting, John. Thank you very much for your time.
We are listing